may or may not have to dub over this.
It might be in close there, I don't know. Hence the other recording. A retired tank, in fact, as we welcome you to the first episode of the 2021 season of the LSE Report, and you can see it's quite a momentous one as we are actually back in person, speaking to you in person.
Oh, it's amazing! I tell you what, this is it. Isn't it? You know, we've sort of missed this because even though we've had, you know, been doing it virtually for so long now, it's not really the same, is it? You know, it's not really the same. You know, I can't look at him, he can't look at me. Yeah. That's it. We don't know what's going on. We can talk about it beforehand. This is what it's supposed to be like, and we don't have one of those silly COVID screens between us.
No,
because Nate's been vaccinated.
I have been, vaccinated household, and so Chris is perfectly safe. Don't worry.
I'm fine.
Camera trick: we're further away than we look as well.
That's right, exactly. That's it. Yeah, that is obviously 2 meters, and that's it. I have a face mask in my pocket. Don't really want to use it because you won't know what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So that's it. It's fine. That's it. We've come out the other side, and we're both still alive and
positive. Yeah.
Positive.
As is everyone else in the league, which is also
absolutely
positive.
We're still going, and we're here for another season. Which, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm quite excited about.
It's going to be a good one. Yeah, we won't have to worry this time. Hopefully about the COVID side of it. Plans are obviously going to be back. There may even be a Wembley game.
Yeah.
Still, the NFL intends to play one.
They should do, because if they do what they say, and however many, I mean, I think this morning I read that 15 million people have had their second vaccine already.
Yeah.
So you'd assume by the time they want to play the Wembley games in October, November time, then that's going to be, well, threefold. There's no reason not to. So yeah, I think this year could well be the year of not the new normal, but maybe a resumption of what was normal before.
Getting towards the new normal.
Yeah, exactly that. That's right.
The groundwork for the new normal.
Certainly, yeah, that's right. So yeah, there's absolutely no reason why.
Yeah.
I think especially in the States, in certain states as well, you won't see the resumption of full capacity stadiums this year, and what season it's turned out to be. So we just had the draft, the real draft, not our draft.
Yeah, with the commissioner's chair that he drafted in on stage. That was the weird thing, wasn't it, everyone?
That's it. Yeah, exactly. So we can look back in years to come and go, what really was the? Yeah, what was that?
It kind of felt like a fever dream.
Yeah, exactly. It really was. But it's exciting. There's some exciting players this year. Throughout the first 30 picks. So you saw that. Instead of the QBs that got taken. Obviously, we know about Trevor Lawrence for some time, but it's what the 49ers going to do.
No one saw Trey Lance.
Nobody saw that. No, that's right, exactly that. Justin Fields was exciting. I think for the first time in a long time, Chicago has a lot to look forward to, and the Patriots have got their man. So
Mac Jones, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you've got to trust that because the amount of times that Belichick and Nick Saban are like that, as we all know.
Yeah.
So he's going to have got the inside track big time from him. So I'm excited to see what that's going to be. Whether it's going to be a new dawn for them or a false dawn for them.
Yeah. Well, time will tell. It's a completely different offense to
absolutely
the 1 year experiment, perhaps, of Cam Newton.
I don't see it happening again. Yeah. So they know full well what to expect now. So yes, that's it. But what we do know is that the LSE's back, and there's been one change, a big change, over the course of the off season. We've had our man down under, very down under. That's it.
Yeah, retiring.
Yes, that's it. Retired and gone. It's a shame. I really want to see him win. That's it. I've been rooting for him for the last 3 or 4 years, but hasn't quite worked out that way. But we may see him again. It's not out of the question.
Yeah, he could come back,
and
he hasn't ruled it out. It's just, like you say, where he is at the moment in the world, it's difficult for him to not only keep track of the NFL, especially when the Jags aren't doing too great, but also to keep up with the fantasy league being in a different time zone.
Yeah, that's right, exactly that. Being involved in some of the socials. Well, I think fair play to him. He got involved with the division line thing last year, despite the fact that he was 12 hours ahead. That's it. And had
very well.
a limited amount of ways of doing it. So fair play to Phil. He's been great all these years, and hopefully we'll see him again when he comes back. But with that, we do have
a welcome a new member who new to the LSC but not to fantasy, very experienced, probably more seasoned than all of us.
That's
saying something.
That's what we want to see. That's it. And well, again,
welcome, Dave. By the way,
absolutely,
you'll be watching your first episode actually in the league. So.
Yes, that's right. That's it. Being part of this, it's superb. This is a good league to be part of. And he's not here either. He's in Italy. It's a land that I hold very dear. That's it. And obviously he does because he lives there. So yes, that's it. Welcome. That's it. And I hope that you're a bit more successful than Phil was after all these years. But if you want competition, this is the one to come to now because what we've seen over the last maybe 3 seasons, maybe 4, maybe a bit longer than that. Really, is that every game is pretty much is on the same sort of level now. It's exactly that. Like the real NFL, we've managed to make it quite level, I think, in the last 3 or 4 years, and that's what's shown. We've had some very close finishes. Real competition every time. And I think that's the one thing that I've noticed by doing this over the years. Is that there is every game's a tough game. Everyone's.
It feels like every time we do the schedule reveal and go through, every week seems to have an interesting game now because of the rivalries that have established. But just because everyone is so competitive, you have that
hugely
added layer. So
hugely. So I'm jacked. To be honest.
And it all starts here, draft order reveal. We usually do it before the NFL draft. We're doing it slightly after the NFL draft today. We're doing it slightly differently this year. You'll see that in a second. But first of all, we need to get the league news in for the first time in 2021. League news. AGM is next Sunday, the 9th of May.
Yes, it is.
So I haven't pulled up the agenda, but I can go to the event and do that quickly. It is obviously going to be a virtual event, as it always is anyway. So please attend if you are around. It's going to be about 7 PM we'll start, so we should be done at a reasonable time. The agenda for this year so far is a review of the roster format. Again, as it is quite a radical one, we just wanted to keep it on the agenda again. We have had another proposal to go back to the old format and look at half-point PPR as well. Last year we obviously voted to expand the playoffs to 5 teams, so we have a 3-week playoff, with the first week being the wild card on record and the second wild card being on highest points forward outside of the already established playoff teams, and then playoffs as normal after that. Looking at the 4-point 40 to 49 yard field goal, looking to get rid of that and maybe reducing the 50-yard one from 5 to 4 as well. And then establishing some dates hopefully for the division aligning event and draft, and then the elections as always. That's the AGM so far, and obviously we'll have an open floor at the end there as well. Hall of Fame nominations, we usually get them in by the AGM, but given that's only next Sunday and I haven't mentioned anything yet, 16th of May, so the next Sunday after is going to be the deadline for the Hall of Fame nominations. So pick your nomination. Obviously, Dave, you won't have one yet, being you. And Phil, if you're watching this, yes, you may still nominate something for yourself if you want to. I will do the normal write-up. We might do an episode on them again, like we did last year.
So for sure.
And then the only, don't want to do that on my laptop. The only other thing is, so as I said, the draft and league aligning events will be confirmed during the AGM, or perhaps shortly after, as we do with the spreadsheet. But the draft, I'm not sure what opening day is for the NFL. It will either be the 2nd or the 9th, so it will probably be the weekend of the 4th and 5th of September, or the 28th, 29th of August, and we have that bank holiday on the 30th usually as well if we need it. Those are the dates of the draft, and division aligning will obviously be defined at a later date, which is rosters to decide this year.
Yes, absolutely. So I'd be interested to see what you can do. And at least you've got a bit more choice this year. I think that once the country opens up, the UK anyway, for any of our international viewers, because we do have some occasionally. That's it. Yeah, after the 17th of May, or indeed after the 21st of June, then all options are on the table. Yeah, we did it in July last year, and it seemed to work out okay. So hopefully there'll be a date at some point. After the 21st of June that all options are still on the table,
Yeah.
But yeah, now that we can sort of meet outside and do that, I say it makes life a little bit easier. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what Ross has got.
Yeah, well, based on his team names and everything, it could be quite interesting.
I've got no doubt. I've got no doubt. It is exciting to do. I have to say that. Run a couple.
I mean, your one last year was very good.
Well, yeah. I mean, what else could we do?
In the circumstances as well. Yeah, very good.
But yeah. Now that we've got it all, I'm up for anything this year. To be quite honest with you. So yeah, exactly. Sick. Bring it on.
Yeah. And with that, we will begin the 2021 season with the draft order reveal. So we are not picking names out of a hat this year. We are going to use a website which you may have seen before. Basically, I've entered all the names, and it's basically a 100-yard dash. It will randomly decide who gets to the end and what the draft order will be. Just to show everything, I'm doing a screen recording of it as well. We will hopefully show it on the screen. Apologies if you can't see it very well. What way do I need to go? That way.
If you can't see, invert your screen.
Oh yes, it may be backwards.
You may see it. Just look at this podcast in the mirror, and then you'll get it.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm doing a screen share, which I'll share anyway. So we're going to shuffle it a few times to shuffle the order. Let's go for 5, shall we, Chris?
Absolutely. That's it. Because this isn't a random number generator, so we haven't done this. This is kind of a nice way of doing it.
This is So after the accusations last year.
We got hurt by that. That's it. Yeah, we're not bent.
No.
All we want is competition.
Exactly. So you can see I'm not going to add any luck values here because that manipulates the chance of winning. So we'll leave that as it is. And then yards travel per rush. Let's go with 1, max of 10. Why not? Seconds per rush. Let's just leave it all. Let's do it normal speed. Why not? And then teams, that's set. So we're all set. So do you want to come over here? Can you see it on the screen?
Let's do it. I haven't quite got my mirror. So
Here we go. Starting the dash. So there we go. All on the left there.
Here we go.
Dash is going. Here's the commentating skills. So Chris is out to an early lead. Maybe there is collusion after all, but Tom and Ross at the bottom there. Jutting out as well. Mike's in dead last at the moment, followed by my dad. It's a 3-horse race at the moment by Chris, Tom and Ross. It's pretty close. We've got the middle peloton of Ollie B, Dave Henderson, me and Pat catching up there.
Oh, big sprint by over there.
Yeah, it's a real tussle at the bottom for the lead between Tom and Ross. You can see they're the leading.
At the back, dead last, still Dave.
Yeah, my dad doesn't appear to know that the race has begun. We can see
Pat's off.
It's old Pat with the late surge. Obviously, whoever crosses the line first will get the first pick, and then it will descend down. Pat. Yeah, Pat. We're gonna have to test him for PDs, I think, after that one. Look at him go, and Tom and Ross seem to have stopped for a tea break as everyone else has caught them up. And
this could go anywhere.
Yeah, this could go anywhere. Is Pat running out of juice right at the end? There's going to be a late dash from Ben. Could he appear at the top again after it snake bit him last season? Ross with a late surge down the bottom as well. But it does look like Pat will get the first pick. Ollie G and Ross tussling for second and third. Ross will get the second pick by the looks of things. Mike's making a late dash at the end as well for the third pick. It's a real neck-and-neck race here. Ollie G gets the third pick. Mike gets the fourth pick. Nathan gets fifth. Ben gets sixth. Ollie Badette seventh. And then Chris, Dave, H and S, Tom and Viv. Yeah, crawling across the line. Chris gets the 8th overall pick there. And then, it's going to be a photo finish. Dave Henderson slides him for 9th. And then real photo finish between the last 3. Yeah, Viv 10th, my dad 11th, and Tom, despite leading half of the race.
That was really good. That was a good way of doing it.
So there you go. I will copy that link. And make sure that is pasted into the Facebook chat.
That was much more fun than out the hat.
Yeah, that was entertaining. I wasn't sure what to expect, to be quite honest, but I quite enjoyed it. And there can be no accusations of collusion there. That was completely random, of course.
Dear me.
I will post that later. With that, we can then review now. So the first result. Let's start at the bottom actually. So Tom, after going out to a good start in the race. Yeah, he obviously fell way behind as it went on. Actually, I've got the accolades thing in here, so let's do it on here. So Tom in 12th position. He has drafted from 12th position in 2015. He drafted 11th last year. In 2012, he was also 10th. So in those seasons, he went 13-1 in 2012, 7-7 in 2015. And 7-7 last year, so it would appear the back end isn't too favourable for Tom. It is difficult at that back end.
It sure is. That's it. Absolutely. And the key thing that you miss out, I think, at that back end is obviously one of those stud running backs. But the one thing that you can say this year is that those stud running backs have becoming fewer and fewer. And the receiver depth is extremely deep this year, I would say. And we know that Tom's partial to a receiver in his time. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see how he does down there. I having done a few mocks already, which is a bit crazy, I know, but there's some value to be had on that turn because.
If you get it right, it's a boot because you're getting 2 of the top 13 players.
Absolutely right, and saying you're in maybe for one of the top QBs as well. So yeah, I'm it's a place that he's done before, that's it. And if there's somebody you can trust to go down there,
experience, absolutely
right.
Champion.
It's him.
Yeah, for sure. So then in 11th place we had my dad. Despite being last, it felt like the entire whole race. Somehow managed to get the 11th pick in the end of it.
Picked up the pace just for one place.
Just about. So drafting 11th, he has never drafted that late in the draft before.
Wow.
That is the latest position he's ever drafted. So if we go from 2011, he was 9th then. He went 5-9. 2015, he was 10th. Which I think we were 12th team in 2015.
Yep.
This is definitely the furthest back he's ever drafted. 8-6 then. 2016 he was 9th, also 8-6. And then since then he's never been lower than 6th. So, but based on the record, not too bad from my dad. The last couple of times in the mid years of the league, he did okay. But the last few years, he's kind of had a mid-table record as well. So is that going to help him or hinder him?
I don't think it makes a difference really. I think your dad will. He seems to get a very similar record no matter where he drafts in the draft. We know that he's got a slightly different strategy to everybody else. It relies on the technology, which is absolutely fine. It's a valid way of doing it. Last year he had an explosive team. He got a little bit battered with injuries middle of the season. Dalvin Cook came really good at the end, but not quite enough. We know that start drafting from down there. He's not going to guarantee himself that. So again, much like Tom, it's who falls that way. That's it. Will he go the same way as last year? There's not quite so many rookies in key positions as there perhaps was last year. But you're going to be good. At the on that turn again. So you're going to guarantee yourself a pedigree player, maybe not elite, but pedigree. We know that Dave's teams have thrived on having solid, consistent players throughout.
Definitely.
Very, very few teams that he ever puts together a boom and bust. So I think that probably would suit their style. But as I say, again, you wouldn't want any two guys. Down there, Tom and Dave are 2 of the most experienced people we've got.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, last year's strategy certainly was very position independent. He went Travis Kelce at the end of the second, and then he had that Jonathan Taylor in the 3rd round to start his rookie running back run. Melvin Gordon in the 4th round, which is probably about where he went. But then he had Cam Akers in the 5th round, DeAndre Swift in the 7th round, J.K. Dobbins in the 8th round. Had he kept hold of all of them, it would have actually turned out pretty good, but he didn't in the end. So clearly, like you say, drafting there I don't think is going to impact him too much in terms of what he'll end up doing.
No.
So we have Viv in 10th place then, so taking a look at Viv's history, where are the dream team on here? There they are. So Viv drafting in 10th, so they have drafted in 11th in 2015, he went 8-6, 10th in 2016, also 8-6, 2017 was 11th again, he went 4-10 there, and then in the 9th position in 2019, 7-7.
It's all about the same, isn't it? So again, someone who's used to being down there, someone who seems to be a bit of a regular season hero. For a long time last year, his team was excellent.
He's the equivalent of a college coach in the LOC because he plays well for like those first 10 games.
Yes.
But then the season ends normally, so he doesn't have the juice for the stretch.
That's right, and that's what happened last year. Russell Wilson ran out of juice very abruptly, sort of. That's it. 9-10 weeks through the year, wasn't quite the same team. People caught up to him. Earlier on, so we were putting him in the frame, but
it wasn't just Russ. It was Ezekiel Elliott. The Cowboys lost that. Chris Godwin obviously picked up some injuries along the way. George Kittle the same.
Yes.
David Johnson just largely not too effective. AJ Green was obviously a non-factor. Kareem Hunt and Jarvis Landry quite hot and cold with how the Browns were.
Yeah, for sure. So, but again, it was a team that got put together nicely, even from down there. And so, if you're used to doing it, you're used to knowing what you need and what you can pick up in certain rounds. So, it's better than being all over the place. And say it's strange how it's worked out that way because he hasn't gone higher than what was it, 9th?
So let's take a look at his higher position. So he was third last year.
Third last year.
6th in 2018. But then you have to go back to 2014 third, 2012 third, and 2011.
Yeah. So again, model of consistency despite the fact being down there. Yeah,
definitely. Then in the 9th place we have Dave Henderson. We have no history for Dave, but I think he'll like that 9th spot because it's kind of going towards the middle where you're not too. You're not at the double header and then you miss out on the picks for ages. You get a solid, probably end of first round kind of guy, and then you get the cream of the crop at the second round as well. So,
yeah, absolutely right. So you can still pick up someone reasonably decent down there. I just think these are sort of it's the dead zone, isn't it? Because you don't quite have the
elite.
Yeah, that's right, exactly that. But you do have somebody who. Somebody who may fall. So we saw that last year. So you're definitely in that category. And it depends how stupid people are above you, on who they value. But yeah, I think again, with nothing to work on. It's maybe not the prime position to be in, but it's certainly one that can get you at least a consistent start. And after that, well. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that people putting that was that famous year, obviously, where Ezekiel Elliott was suspended for, I think, or going to be suspended at some point for the past 6 games. I think he ended up going in the 9th spot in the end, and was a complete value when he did play. So yeah, you can definitely grab a faller or something, or maybe a rookie like Ollie took Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 10th last year.
Yeah.
Those kind of guys that could certainly you could see be the number 1 overall pick just because they've got no background. So definitely not the worst place to be. For the 8th pick then, we have you, Chris. You were in the 8th pick, so last year you were obviously in the 4th position after being booted down from the 1st position.
Well, I'm glad.
Yep, and this is going to be your lowest drafting position since 2012. So 2010 you started with the 8th position, you went 8 and 6 that year. 2012 you were also 8th and went 6 and 8, and then ever since you've never been lower than 7th, which is 2015 where you went 3 and 11. Last few years you've been 4th, 3rd and 4th.
Yeah.
So
Molson basic. I don't know how. This is different. I'm not quite sure what to do from there, to be honest. That's it. I'll do a few mocks and see what happens. But say
you're going to be well prepared by the sound of things.
Certainly. But yeah, by being in those middle 3, that's it. I don't know. I don't know whether that's good or whether that's bad. I always think that the gap between them is not necessarily the best.
It's a blessing and a curse. You don't get caught out with the runs, but equally you.
I think for me, being 8th sort of takes away the elite guys at the top. So you're left with maybe you then have a receiver. But that's not such a bad thing this year, as I say. The once those guys at the top go, and you don't want to peg yourself to a running back always. So unless you get somebody like the McCaffrey, Cook, Henry, whatever.
Yeah.
After that, I've been stung by that in the past. So you don't know what you're going to get. But yeah, I'm excited to have something different. think that's it. And I do have the Mithwani Rush. I want to.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I can't be forgotten. Definitely.
That's it. So, but we'll see. I don't know. I maybe just spice it up just a little bit. It's, yeah, that's it. But we'll see if we want to bring that in. But
Yeah, maybe some revenge with Ben to move up to the 6th spot. Who knows?
We'll see.
In 7th position, we have Ollie Vedette. So Ollie, his team, where is he drafted? So he was 10th last year, so a bit further behind. 9th in 2018, where he went 8th and 6th. 2017, he was 6th, and went 6 and 8. 2016, he was 8th, 5 and 9. So he's drafted a lot of them in the rounds recently.
Yep.
2015, 8th again, 7 and 7. And then he's since 2010, he was in 5th, 7 and 7. 2011, 5th, 6 and 8. 2012, 4th, 4 and 10. So very well versed at being around
Yeah,
the
that's right.
middle spot.
And we've seen with him in the past is that it doesn't really matter what his regular season record is that he comes good once that's over. And we've seen when he gets to the playoffs, he tends to do very well. However, you know, it's those sketchy years, you know, so where he's eked his way into the playoff with a record that's not massively dominant. And maybe that's the draft position, or perhaps that's the way that he picks. I know that some of the times there's a lot of gambling in the middle of the draft, and perhaps that's the reason why you have to gamble is the position you start in. But again, let's say you wouldn't write him off no matter where he was drafted really, because it was success in a lot of positions. Obviously, he's had a lot of experience in that same sort of region. So. So yeah, you know, building a team is the big thing. Taking opportunities where you can is a big thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But say it's more difficult to nose in that space, I suppose.
Yeah.
Between say 5th and 9th.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, because you've got all those mid-round guys that people.
Yeah.
But again, we saw it last year where people seem to value. Yeah, players that might not be obvious. You know, obviously Ben valued tight ends over a lot, and then as a result, players dropped to where they perhaps shouldn't.
Yeah,
be.
that was a bit more
and that's where, you know, those kind of guys. You know, so obviously Ollie, myself, and the mid rounders, and obviously Ben in 6th, you know, can really get some good value. So you're gonna have to hope for a bit of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And what we saw from Ollie's draft last year, I mean, he usually does try and take the flashier players, but he does largely stick to ADP. He doesn't veer off the track quite a lot. He took Clyde in the first round last year, which he was obviously a first round pick. He could have gone anywhere, and he got near the back end, which was nice. Julio's second round, he's always a second rounder, or he always has been. Odell in the 3rd round, which at the time made sense. Calvin Ridley in the 4th, double dipping with those Falcons, but again that was on his value. Deshaun in the 5th, arguably even a bit lower than where Deshaun could have gone. Ronald Jones in the 6th as well, which was before, I believe, the Leonard Fournette, so again was around where he would have gone. Tyler Boyd in the 7th, much the same story. So you know, drafting in that middle spot, he'll be able to do that because he's not getting, he's not going to miss out on the runs as much, so he'll be able to take the value.
Yeah, very solid draft.
Yeah. So next then in the 6th position we have Ben. Obviously he Nathani'd his way up to the 1st position last year, and he's not drafted in the middle of the round for a long time. No. So going back to 2011, he's drafted in the 7th position with 7 and 7. 2012, 6th, 6 and 8. 2013, 5th, 9 and 5. But then after that, he has never been higher, other than last year, than 8th. So 2014 he was 8th, 2015 9th, but then 16, 17, 18, and then 19, 11th, 10th, 11th, 11th. So it's been a while since he's drafted in that mid-round spot. Obviously his record's been extremely consistent since.
Yep.
Will being a bit higher benefit him? Or?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it will. His spreadsheets will tell him what he needs to do, which is not repeat last year's draft.
All in on one player for that one player to get injured.
He's
He's definitely been better when he's been able to spread the wealth.
I agree, and this is a way to do it. You know, by being dead in the middle. You know, he'll get a very balanced draft. I think that's again, as you say, where he's seen in the past. You know, when he's had a balanced team, he's had a balanced record, and therefore he's kept himself in the hunt for longer. You know, as he being first last year, yes, he went and sold the house for Christian McCaffrey, which in hindsight didn't quite pay off for him. But yeah, it wasn't to know that. I mean, if I'd have been there, I'd picked him too.
Obviously, snake bait by Cam as well. When you take a high round quarterback, you always run that risk. They obviously don't often get injured. Oh, my iPad is nearly dead. That's a worry.
That is a big worry. That's it. We're gonna have to just
Yeah.
we have to rush through the last 5.
Yeah, well, we've got the audio recording, if nothing else.
That's
so,
true. That's true. So, but that's so good. I mean, yeah.
I have a portable charger. I will let you talk about the next one we have while I hunt that down. So, it's me actually in the 5th position. So I will give you the background of my position. I have drafted not too much around the mid end actually. So since 2015, I was fourth in 15 and 16. Then in 2018, I was in 8th. 19th, 7th, so I haven't really dropped it in that kind of early mid round for a while. I've either been really high or
You need. I think that with the, I've always thought the sweet spot. Yeah, the sweet spot in the draft for me is. We go back to this, viewers. Sort of, third and fourth is where you want to be. I think that you do end up getting the benefit of an elite running back, which is what you need in this at this level. So I know we're talking about 5th now, but you outside of that top 4, which I think probably this year is, McCaffrey, Cook, Henry, and Kamara. You can have somebody like Saquon maybe, which Nate's done in the past and been stung by, but he's still going to be an elite running back at 5th, and that's what you want, So you want somebody like that, who can, who can change the game. And I think from there, once you get somebody like that, you've got yourself a great foundation to work with from there on in. So yeah, that's it. If I had a choice, so you'd want to draft, 3rd, 4th, 5th, in order to get the benefit of the second round as well. I think perhaps a little bit lower than that, you perhaps don't quite get that. But also, we have to think about the later rounds too. I think it's gone.
Did you go? Too late.
That's it. So, and the key rounds in 3 and 4, where you can get an awful lot of value, if you draft right. So yeah. That's it. Not a bad place to be. So I was just saying, this is really where the sweet spot is.
I agree.
3rd, 4th, and 5th. Definitely. It'd be interesting to do a study on how many people win from those positions, because I get a feeling that gut feeling anyway, that 3rd, 4th, and 5th is probably where a lot of people do best at.
You got the shot at, usually there's a conversation for the number 1 overall pick between a handful of people. And even then, you usually have the tier like right behind it, so not quite the number 1, but like a Derrick Henry or something last year, for example.
Exactly. Right.
So yeah, absolutely, it's a good spot to be in. In the back end, obviously, you're not getting the best second rounders and thereafter, but you get that premier top end player.
Yes, exactly.
So our next team then is. It's Mike in 4th.
Oh.
So Mike's obviously not had too many drafts under the belt, and he did draft in 2nd. In 2019, his first draft, where he went 7-7, and then in 2020 he was back in 8th.
Yeah.
So what do you expect from Mike?
Mike is going to love this draft pick, by the way. I know Mike very well, and I think this is going to be a great place for him to start from. As we saw last year, so he did well in 2nd. But I think that going down to 4th, it gives you a little bit more traction, say for that 2nd round. I got the impression last year that he had a lot of, boom players that at times did extremely well for him, but obviously at times didn't quite deliver the goods. But, the reason why I think that is that he wasn't quite high enough.
For sure.
To get into that elite running back. Region.
He took Josh Jacobs at 1, which, like you say, no one was making the case for him as the first round.
No, not at all.
Sorry, the first overall near the high, but you could make a case there. Tyreek Hill in the 2nd, you're obviously a premier receiver. Fournette at the time when he was on the Jags in the 3rd, that was unfortunate.
But then he went, Metcalf as well, and then I think that he elevates himself to being, especially this time around, in those either 4th rounder that was probably a 1st rounder by week 4 or 5, I think that with that a little bit more juice, which didn't quite get him over the line this year, yeah, he'll be able to do that this time round, and yeah, that's as speaking from experience. Obviously, I've drafted from there a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, you need that little bit of juice to get you going momentum wise. Yeah. And you can access, as I said before, those top four, the McCaffrey, Kamara, Cook, and Henry. One of those four guys gives you a massively elevated status on top of what else.
It takes the pressure off, right?
100%.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off. Speaking of which, Ollie Gardner is in the third, so a very high spot for Ollie Gardner. Let's take a look where he's drafted. There is the bottom there. So this will be Ollie's 6th draft. Crazy to think he's been in the league that long
time now, right?
He drafted in the 2nd spot in his very first year when he went 8 and 6 and took Ezekiel Elliott. But ever since, he's never been higher than 7th. So he was 7th last year, 8th the year before, 12th in 2018, and 9th in 2017, and but through all those years he's been fairly consistent. Obviously had his best record last year at 9 and 5, and his worst has been 5 and 9. So how do you think?
That's it.
Being back at third.
Third. Again, this is a really good position to build on last year's performance, because he got to the playoffs last year, first time ever. Did really well. And again, out of a non-Premier draft spot.
Yeah.
I thought he had a great draft last year, picked up well throughout the year. Rode the coattails. It was just having a look here. His first overall, which was Nick Chubb, rode the coattails of him until he got injured a little bit. And I think that you even from there, smart picks. Kyler Murray down there. Yes, again, a guy that's got massive fantasy value, but was a little bit underrated last year.
Definitely.
I think, in terms of where he got drafted. Kenyon Drake for a large part of the year was extremely good out of the 2nd round. So I think with, again, like with Mike, having that guy, so Nick Chubb was probably in the end worthy of a top 5 pick. Or even higher than that. But with a little bit more juice, you put someone in there. You're going to assume he's probably going to get Kamara or Henry from spot 3.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, and we're continuing that trend of being smart on his picks. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
So we'll see what Ollie does in the 3rd spot. Maybe it's finally the year, coming off his best year last year.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to go with momentum sometimes.
Definitely. And then in the 2nd spot, it is Ross, so the current champion, drafting in 2nd. Since his own retirement, he's been near the top of the order quite a few times.
Yeah.
2016 to 2018, he was first, and 2nd respectively.
It's crazy.
7 and 7, 4 and 10, and 6 and 8. He went in those seasons, so
Wild.
It didn't necessarily bear fruit. Where he did draft in 5th last year, the year he won, and then obviously the year before that he had a pretty good year, 9 and 5 as well, but he was in 10th there. So is this going to be a blessing or a curse for Ross?
Well, I really want to see Ross draft himself this year. That's a start. It doesn't matter what position he is. I want to see him draft himself, because all those times that he's been back, doesn't
the
matter.
Last 2 years.
Yeah, he hasn't drafted himself, and I want to see what happens. Obviously last year, with the auto draft or whatever draft, whatever we're going to call it.
I think I think it's less forgiving when you're at the higher end, right? Because if you're taking straight off ADP, there's a lot of ADP guys that when they fall can become a value when you're drafting somewhere else. But at the top, you don't want to necessarily be taking those guys. There might be a better option there.
Exactly that. It just turned out last year. Obviously, the stars aligned and it worked out, and didn't do a great deal with the team, and it was pretty much all down to the draft. But again, it's in a similar vein to last year. He will access those top guys early, and in the same sort of way as last year. I think, hopefully we'll be able to build on that. But that's where it was. It was big plays for Ross last year.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of obviously big time players that turned up, but he had to have them in the first place, and I think that by coming in and doing it himself, we'll see what truly can be. I'm really interested to see that, because a lot of people would slag off for the win last year, myself included, for being an auto drafted team that won the league. But at the same time, I think there's more value to having a good season
Yeah.
when you created it. You created it. It's your foundations, and it's something that you can hang your hat on. And if you're going to have a way of doing that, then certainly from the top 2 picks, you can't really go wrong.
No, good foundation.
Sure.
Yeah. And then in the top position, we
so happy.
have Pat. He has long wanted this.
So
he has never drafted higher than 5th, which he has drafted 3 times, funnily enough, since his debut in 2015. He drafted there in 2015, 16, and 18 was when he was in 5th. He went 5, 9, 9, and 5, and 2 and 12 in those seasons. The other 3 seasons, he was in the 8th, 12th, and 12th position, where he went 9 and 5, 6 and 8, and 7 and 7. So Pat is a newcomer to the top of the draft.
100%, and obviously varied results. But I'm so happy for Pat. He could build his renaissance this year. We saw him in the first few years of the league, or when he was in the league, go very consistently. There was a time where I thought he was the next in line to win.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, fortune hasn't quite favoured him in the last few years. Bad draft a couple of years ago. He got decimated last year despite having a really good receiving core, like really good. I thought that he was destined for some real success last year. He'd start to come back later on in the year, but just not quite enough. When you pick 12 and whatever last year, and we're looking here, Joe Mixon, not a good year for him. Michael Thomas again, not a great year for him based on what he's the very high standards.
Breeze falling off. Cooper as well had his injury issues. He was okay.
AJ
Brown was a revelation.
AJ Brown was great.
We call him starting to his ACL.
Yeah, exactly. So you look at that and you think, just unlucky, but you can't be unlucky from pick 1. I can't see that happening.
I mean, part of me thinks he's going to kind of not like it in a way because he's going to kind of have that. He's got the choice of who to take, and he's got all the risk of the downside of getting it wrong.
Well, this is it. That's right, exactly that. I don't know. You look at someone like Christian McCaffrey, who's going to come back, who basically got a year off last year. He's going to want to come back in a big way. I think that's just an absolute no-brainer. And so the year that he had Christian McCaffrey 2 or 3 years ago, he did extremely well for Pat. He's got to go back to that.
It's not a case of his body was breaking down last year. It was kind of like one of those one-off injuries, right?
Yeah,
where
exactly.
it just cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, the guy's a stud. So there's no doubt about that. And if there's one way of giving Pat what he needs to get back to the levels that we saw him at, 2-3 years ago. Then that is it. So I'm really happy about that first pick, by the way, because if there's one guy who probably deserves that after a few years of not being there, who needs a bit of a boost, it's Pat.
Yeah. So Pat will have the number 1 overall pick in the LIC draft then. So he better get ready for it and hope he doesn't get an F1 award.
No, I can tell you now, he won't.
You're safe, Pat. There you go. You can prepare, knowing you're safe. So that is that's the Draft Order Reveal podcast, first one of the 2021 season. Good to be back and see you again.
Hugely, absolutely. It's good to be here.
Obviously, we'll have the AGM next weekend. We'll probably do the AGM recap podcast at some point after, and then we'll probably get into the Hall of Fame nomination episodes again. Yeah. So the season is officially underway for the LOC now, and hopefully we'll be able to actually see each other for come draft time.
100%, it's going to happen. Let's say draft time, a few of the games to see. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, with that, thank you for listening, listeners. Have a nice rest of your bank holiday weekend. Thank you for coming, Chris.
Absolutely.
The short walk to us. We didn't even say at the top of the show. We're now doing it in the new LOC HQ.
We are. That's it. It's going to say that's it. New and improved.
Yeah.
New and improved. Let me tell you. This one's even got outside space.
Yes. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with you soon. Take care, listeners.
Bye.